Good evening, UC Bearcat fans. It is James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster for UC Bearcats on the Prowl. We are excited to talk all about the Bearcats, a little bit of what happened last year in 2024, a lot of what's going to happen in 2025. We're just so excited about all the great things that are coming up.
Yeah.
So, Mark,
Yes, we.
so what have them Bearcats been up to?
Well, the season starts Thursday against Nebraska out of the Big Ten, and the season last year. I don't know, James. We at times classified it as disappointing, I think, but also, not sure what we expected um, out of what out of Satterfield. But as we look ahead, we're bringing back some key parts. We've got some key parts coming in. So it's going to be, I kind of think this is a put up or shut up here for Satterfield. I'm not sure how you feel about it.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. But touching base on last year, it just depends on if you count all the games as the season or if you count the halfway point as the season. Because at the halfway point, 5-2, baby, we're looking good. Things are going great. Oh my gosh, all we got to do is get that one more win, and we're going to be in the postseason. Uh, let's go
And
for
yeah,
the rest of the season. Yeah, we'll fast forward through
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So yeah, that was rough. Ended up going five and
Hmm.
seven, losing the last five straight. And then the interesting
Right.
thing is with Satterfield, 8-16 through 2 years. I mean, yeah, that's not how you keep your job winning at 30 year games.
No, it's not. And it, I will say he came into a tough position, a tough
It was
spot
a bad
because
situation.
he had to follow Luke Fickle.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy after
There
the guy. You want to be the guy after the guy after the guy. So
after,
whoever
yeah,
the next guy is the lucky one.
yeah. Exactly. And then there was always the specter of Deion Sanders looming over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly we were one of his two last choices. Um, so it's tough. I think he was coming into a no-win situation, but the problem is he hasn't won enough. He really needs to, I think he's got to win this year and be bowl eligible by the end of the season, or we're gonna be looking for the guy after the guy.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, you said a no-win situation. I know it's a tough situation, but yeah, if you win, you make the playoff, or not the playoffs. We
Mhm.
don't even need the playoff. Yeah, if you just make a
Yeah,
bowl game, people will be happy because you're right. After losing Fickle and
right.
losing a lot of the team, when we did lose Fickle, it was a big turnaround. But he has brought in a ton
Mhm.
of players, and some of them have paid off well. So I mean, it's hard to complain there.
Yeah.
It's just looking at his record, like I said, only winning a third of his games at UC, and the fact that at his other stops really doesn't have that great of a record.
Right. His track record has not been the best. And there were concerns about that when you and I talked about it when they hired him. He was leaving Louisville. It's not like he left Louisville on his own. He was fired from
Yeah,
Louisville. That's why he was available. So I'm not sure what he did in the interview process or what pictures he has on people or what blackmail stuff he's got, but he ended up as our coach. And so now we've got him, and it's kind of our problem to deal with at the moment. But you know, he had his doubters. I would rank us among them, and unfortunately, so far he's proven us right.
so going back to last season, I know there's not too much more to talk about,
Yep.
but and the what if game is a tough game. But I mean, no one's or everyone's undefeated in the what if game, I guess. So
Hmm.
27 and to 28, that home loss to Pittsburgh, and then that Texas Tech,
Yep.
uh, it was like 44-41. If those two go the
Hmm.
other direction, how big is that? How much better are we feeling? Obviously, he's not on the hot seat anymore, I would think.
Right. Right. In fact, I would venture to say, I'm trying to think of a good way to put it, James. I think we might still have some doubt,
Yeah, there'd be
but not
some
as much
doubt,
as
but
we have.
there wouldn't be
Yeah.
we're thinking, hey, this guy's getting fired if he don't make a playoffs. That wouldn't be
Right,
the
right.
case.
Because
Yeah,
he would have made a bowl game. He'd have been bowl eligible.
exactly. He would have
The
checked the
biggest
box and he
disappointment.
would have been able to move
Yeah,
on.
yeah. And I remember talking about that Pittsburgh game after it was over, man. How bad that was. Just how that was the one that that cost them everything. That was the one that would have made them bowl eligible, and they should have won that game. And there was the turnovers and all that. It was just that was brutal. I remember. I think we were actually texting about it when it was going on, to tell you the truth. I think you and I were just about how this isn't the way, it can't be this way. So, yeah, I, the what game will drive you mad. And it's like, what if the Pittsburgh game? What if that Texas Tech game? And actually, if you look at some of the losses, the Texas Christian game, they only lost by a touchdown. West Virginia, they lost by a touchdown. I mean, they weren't blown out of a lot of games. They were close. They just couldn't get over it. Hey, James, I can't hear you.
There we
There
go.
we go. I can hear you. There
I
we go.
forgot my computer's a touch screen, so I accidentally touched the
Oh,
wrong thing that muted it.
nice.
But yeah, I mean, going back, so do you put some of the responsibility, in those type of games, like you said, with the turnovers and all, on the offensive coordinator, Brad Glenn?
I I think you can put some on the coaches, but turnovers. I mean, Brandon Sorsby had a horrible game, and that's he ran the plays that were called, but he's got to execute. And I feel terrible sitting here and saying, "Oh, it's this 20-year-old kid's fault," But I mean, there was a lot there. I do think they could have done some schematic things differently, and how I love the schemes and all that stuff. I think that game could have been better with more short passes instead of the long passes. I think hitting the back out of the backfield. But I hopefully the offensive coordinator did learn his lesson, and we're going to see some different stuff this year.
Definitely, I agree with you. But that was actually the weird thing. I've been reading a lot of people, and they say that was the opposite, that we need to try more of the big shots, that we weren't really doing anything big. We were doing the small things. And they, like, for example, where was it? Sorsby was one of the top quarterbacks in the country
Mhm.
within 10 yards. Like his passing percentage was amazing.
Yeah.
But if he went for a
Yep.
big play, he was only hitting like 2% of them. He was one of the
Yeah,
worst.
and
Yeah.
and I think you're right. I think they didn't do it enough. I was thinking just about that West Virginia game. They
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
they
that
just
specific
easy
game. You're
dunked
right.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the field. But you're right. They need to open it up because you are going to get. I mean, dude, it's the Big 12. Everybody's a capable coach and they have good coordinators.
Mhm.
They will sit on those short passes if they're not going to take those shots downfield.
Exactly.
So I think they've got to open it up a little bit. And if you look at the wide receivers they've got coming in, you know, it, obviously our go-to guy is going to be Joe Royer. And I say wide receivers, he's the tight end,
Yeah.
but
No,
he's going to
but
be our go-to.
he's doing what our team needs. He's being the Kansas City.
Yeah,
He's being
yeah, yeah,
exactly. So he is.
yeah. He's filling the role, but the problem is we don't have a lot coming back in the way of wide receivers. They did get Cyrus Allen from Texas A&M. I think that's a good get on the transfer portal, along with Caleb Goody from Colorado State. Other than that, you got that Jeff Caldwell kid and Noah Jennings. They're both coming from smaller schools, so I'm not real sure about how they're going to fit in.
I agree with you. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really feel, like I was saying about Kansas City. I mean, he feels like our Travis Kelsey. He feels like
Oh
he is
yeah, he
the
definitely
focal
does.
point of our offense, where our wide receivers are going to be more of a secondary thing. It's going to be a lot about running the ball. It's going to be a lot
Yep.
about getting the ball to the tight end. And we have a couple other tight ends that are pretty solid as well. We got that nice fellow from Ohio State as
Yeah.
well. Not just him, but we got another one from Ohio State.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
that's moving in the right direction. But you're right. When it comes to
It
our
is.
wide receiver room with Allen and Goody and Caldwell and Jennings, none of them put any fear in
Yeah.
anybody's heart. No one's scheming for those guys.
Right. They don't move the needle a ton. But I will say, you talk about our running, our running game. You've got Evan Pryor, who the Ohio State transfer, who we know what he did last year behind Corey Kiner.
Mm-hmm.
Now he gets to step up the feature back. And then we got the kid from Wisconsin coming in. I think Tawee Walker
Yep, Tawee
is
Walker. Yeah.
going, and he is going to take over the backup role. Between those two, I think they can make up for Kiner's production that we've lost. And then on top of that, I think they're better in the passing game than Corey Kiner was. And I
I know you
love
love
Corey
Corey.
Kiner. He was great.
Exactly. You're quite
But
happy for him going to
yeah,
San Francisco. You might even get a 49ers jersey.
yeah.
That's how highly you think of the
I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go that far. But
guy.
um, he wasn't much coming out of the backfield for the pass. That was Evan Pryor's role. So now we get Evan Pryor in the backfield for three out of the 3 or 4 plays a series, depending on if they have to punt or what happens. But he's a 3 down back instead of a 3rd down back.
Exactly. So I agree with you. He's very well rounded. He did a good job last year. He showed some highlights of what he can do. Um, and so, with giving him more opportunity, I think he's going to do some good things. And then, like you said, Walker, the thing I found that was interesting about Walker is 20% of the time last season, he forced at least one person to miss before he got tackled.
Right. And I think that's a key because our offensive line isn't going, and this is going to sound so weird to say, but our offensive line isn't going to be as good as last year. And we're saying as good on a team that 5-7.
Yeah.
But and our depth, we've got solid starters. The depth is going to be challenged. So when you've got a running back, and I mean depth is going to be challenged on the offensive line. When you've got a running back that can make people miss, that's a good thing when you don't have a great line.
Yeah, like you said, it's the depth that's the issue, that and the cohesiveness, because obviously with so many of the players being new to the system.
Yeah, and,
I
and
think the only one back is Gavin Gerhardt, the center. So we got him back,
yeah,
and then we got the
yep.
tackles that are actually quite good. I mean, like a lot of people were trying to get them, and we lucked out and got
Oh
them.
yeah,
Yeah, getting Joe Cotton and getting Nolan L.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, getting the two of them. I mean, both of them shown at a very high level. There are a lot of major colleges that were looking at them, so it wasn't one of those things where we just, we took what we could get. We actually went out. They actually went. Satterfield went out and got somebody.
Yeah, and that, and that's a good thing that he did that. So the offensive line, we've got solid starters, like we said, don't have a lot depth wise. Got to pray that the injury bug stays away from them. So they just and the I guess if there's a good thing about the offensive line depth being thin, it's that we have Evan Pryor, Tawee Walker, Joe Royer, and we got Brandon Sorsby back there behind him because we know he's mobile. We know he can move and throw on the run, which, he may have to.
Exactly. Yeah, because I've heard people say that he's not a good running quarterback, but I disagree. I mean, heck, he came
Me
in
too.
second in yards for the team last year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, James. He is he's more effective than people want to give him credit for as a runner. And he's got a good solid arm. So, but it's tough to say what the one key on our offense is going to be this year. Because there are so many spots that are going to have to click to make this season a success on the offensive side of the ball.
Exactly. So we got that going. And then we got, of course, the defense. and Tyson Vettit
Mhm.
is running the 3-3-5. I think is a really good defense
Yeah.
for us because it's a very speed-oriented defense. I
Yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong, I love the idea of having more down linemen. I think you're kind of in the same camp as me because you're a
Yeah.
lineman. But the way they're doing it
Mhm.
is not a bad option.
No, 3-3-5 is interesting because James, when I'm 52 years old, back when I was playing as a kid, yours called that a 5-2, or a 4-2 with the down lineman and then the outside backers and one central back. So maybe even a 5-1. So, or you walk one of those safeties up and make it a true 5-2. So I think, but speed is going to be the key, and I think that's why they went this way. I think they have far more speed than they do size on defense, and this is the D coordinator making do with what he's got.
Exactly. The weird thing was they had issues with pressuring the other team, and
Mhm.
it wasn't because that they didn't have good defensive linemen. Obviously, they had the Godfather, but he had his health problems. It was more so the health problems throughout the defensive line. I mean, heck, after the first couple of weeks, there really wasn't many healthy people.
Right. And again, we're dealing with depth issues, and that's where Cincinnati has to make up ground, like the Texas Techs, the Texas Christians, the West Virginias, all those schools, they've been building a Big 12 program for a while.
Mhm.
And so you have people, you've got that depth. UC still working on their, third year, and so it's difficult to build that depth. And this year, I just, with making that move to the 3-3-5 and looking at their lineup and seeing if they really are going to rely on that speed a lot. And that is a dangerous game because if you can't get those linebackers off the blocks to get in and get those, or the running backs on the off tackle runs or the stretch runs, it could be a tough season.
Well, that's the thing, though. They did well at stopping the run last year, and I think they can
Mhm.
continue to do that. It's just with not getting pressure, how hard is it to stop the pass?
Right. And so that is a byproduct of the way they played last year, the formation, the size, and that, they were trying to make up in spots
Mhm.
for lacking in others. And I think, if they truly did recruit for the 3-3-5, they found pressure guys on the outside, you know,
Exactly.
to
It's,
close down.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, because they got solid linebackers. They got Jake Goldie and Jonathan Thompson that are both looking really good. So
mhm.
that's a help. And then uh,
Yeah.
Antoine Peck at safety.
hmm
So
Yeah.
they
And
got
then
some good
also,
guys up the
you've
middle.
got, yeah, they do. They're solid. You got Dante Coley up the middle. Your defense, you've got to be nose guard, uh, middle backer, safety. That's where you got to build a solid run defense. Those guys have to be able to step up and hit. Now, the trick is, are your corners good enough to cover while those guys are running up? Do you have the people that can drop back and cover that hook zone or that slant where your backers are vacating?
Exactly. And that's a tough question because they're all new, it feels like. I mean, it feels like,
Exactly.
yeah,
I,
McDoon,
we're,
Williams, Harrison. I mean, yeah,
mhm,
they've all played somewhere before, but it doesn't,
mhm.
yeah, we don't know if it'll translate.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot Thursday night. Nebraska is what, mid-tier Big Ten,
Hmm.
mid to lower tier Big Ten. UC, quite honestly, is mid to lower tier Big 12.
Yep.
Um, so it could be a decent matchup. I'm trying to think. Let me see. Of course, not under season leaders, but I believe Dominic Raiola is the quarterback for Nebraska still. He was the five-star who committed to Ohio State, decommitted after he didn't play and all that stuff, and came with a lot of fanfare. He struggled last year in the Big Ten, to be honest. So hopefully we could see him start off with some struggles this year against the Big 12 team.
Exactly. So, I mean, What are your thoughts? Who do you got?
Well, it's in Kansas City. It's so it's not a home. Well, it's technically a home game for
Yeah,
UC,
exactly.
but it got moved to Kansas City. So I'm looking the ESPN matchup predictors like 66% leaning towards Nebraska, which looking at last year, I think is good. I think that's right. I mean, UC can win this game. They're not out of it by any means, but we need to see what their identity is going to be. You know, that's something that we just don't know. And I can't sit here and say, oh, UC's got this in the bag because they're going to be able to run it off tackle and just this and this. Right now, it's throw it and pray.
Exactly. There's a lot
So,
of variables. There's a lot of unknowns. So
yep.
I would lean towards Nebraska as well. I would say
Yeah,
Nebraska between between 4 to 10 point difference, kind of at this point.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm thinking like 24-14 is a
yeah, something like that.
solid prediction on the score. I think I just don't know that UC has the answers on offense yet. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think after this game, I have confidence in the offensive coaching staff to be able to make some changes and make some adjustments and see where we go from there, so that it's not a complete and total wash in the Big 12. In fact, who knows? I mean, if you're looking at UC's schedule, um, I could see them beating Bowling Green, beating Northwestern State, Central Florida, Baylor. I mean, there is a chance that they can become bowl eligible. 6-5 is not out of the question.
But they better beat Bowling Green, and they definitely better beat
Yeah,
Northwestern State because if not,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we'll have lost them. Yeah, if they would start 0-3, I don't think that's going to happen. But if
Yeah.
he was or were to do that, yeah, that would
Mhm.
just ruin it right there.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I think there's a chance for them to have, kind of a successful season, depending on what we label as success. I think next week when we talk, we're going to know. I think both of us are going to have a much better vision on what the rest of the season's going to look like after we see how this game goes.
Exactly. Yeah, because like you said, it's a home game, but it's not a home game.
Um,
If it would have been the Colts or even Paul Brown, would have made sense because then it would have been at home
yeah.
and the fans would have been there. Where now it's in Kansas City and Nebraska is going to travel probably better than we are, so
Yep.
that also kind of bothers me. I mean, the only good
Mhm.
thing about it being our home game, is we can bring recruits because that was
Yes.
always the thing that Fickle. It was so funny how
Hmm.
mad he would get about that because the fact that Miami was the home team at Paul Brown Stadium, he hated that so flippin' much.
Hmm.
He, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it was great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. I remember him being pissed off about that.
oh yeah, that was the thing because he at least wanted it to alternate, which I kind of agree with him. If it alternated and he took turns, like, hey, this time around, and then 3 years from now, it's the other ones. Yeah, I get that.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Hmm.
he would just, oh my gosh, yeah, I can't think of anything that he probably had a stronger opinion about than that. It was great.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Yeah. So,
yeah, so it sounds
and
like we're
yeah,
excited
right.
about the season. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting year. I can't, I can't say I'm like super excited for it, but I can't say I'm nonchalant about it. It's going to be an interesting season to watch. I think it's going to be a transitional year. It's just what's the transition going to be? Is it going to be to a new coach, or are we going to give Satterfield another year?
Exactly. I agree with you. I think that's what this is going to be. It just depends on which path he goes down. So sounds like some good stuff. I look forward to talking the results with you next week about the Nebraska game. Um, yeah, shoot. Hopefully the fans will tune in on Thursday. It's kind of nice that UC gets a kind of night to themselves.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good. I mean, there's going to be recruits watching, at home. They all don't travel,
Exactly.
so I think it's a good thing.
Sounds great. For James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster, this has been UC Bearcats on the Prowl.